This one is going to be a bit raw because this is a self reflection of the childhood that I experienced and a little insight of why I ended up furthering into abusive relationships. Why I I didn't know how to take accountability for people hurting me, and I didn't understand that whole thing. My whole life was just compliance or silence. Even if I kicked up a stink, even if I fought back, even if I screamed as loud as I could, even if I melted down and was a goo of mess, it was always ended in compliance. I grew up in poverty. I grew up with two parents that had an inability to work together. I grew up with a father who was a free spirit and didn't believe in the rat race, which I love because my dad taught me so much about how to live small. He was one of the main reasons why I felt like at least one person cared about me. My mum, on the other hand, we were always told that she had physical illness. And like, particularly me, I became terrified of becoming physically ill just in case I end up acting like her. And because we were never educated on mental illness, the fear as a child that was neurodivergent, antisocial, and had a multitude of trauma problems and issues that their parents never got help for, it was just, it was compliance. I don't really like looking back onto my childhood because as I've gone older and become a mother myself, I just realise more and more of my parents' inabilities and their failures, but that's enmeshed with the fact that no one's perfect. And I understand mental illness and I understand dysfunctional cycles and environments. I'm in two minds. I'm in one of boundaries now with my parents. That one I have no contact with, and the other sort of abandoned in adulthood. But still, I love my dad a lot. He taught me everything that I knew. And my mum tried to do everything to poison me away from him. We grew up in hell. We grew up in hell. My mum, it was confirmed when I was 27, she never had physical illness. That it was all just mental illness that she refused to get help for. And even when help was presented to her, she would be like, no, I'm fine. And completely switch her tune and then be silent all the way home. And then within an hour, it would just erupt. And we had no choice but to run out of the house until Dad could settle her down and we could come back and be normal. Normal. Less dysfunctional. I was taught compliance from an early age because I had issues. It's quite clear that I'm neurodivergent, and it was even more clearer when I was a young child. I had many issues, and I had extreme trauma issues. My dad was there for us a lot when we were younger because my mum just couldn't handle it. And it got to a point that the bills weren't getting paid properly. So Dad would get credit card upon credit card because he had to both support us children and not leave us with her and work full time. So bills weren't getting paid. And on top of it, my dad was getting credit cards and going into debt with debts he couldn't pay. In my lifetime, my father has filed for bankruptcy 3 times. My mum used to call him on the phone and be like, come home, I can't deal with this. And she would have just got up from being asleep. Like, I can't deal with this, come home. And he would race time home every time, and I remember this. No matter how much gaslighting and brainwashing that didn't happen was done, it happened. And when Dad went bankrupt, he said to my mum, I can't, I have to go to work. And my mum would call him and be like, you need to come home. And he would be like, no, and hang up. She'd call him again, come home now, I can't deal with it. She'd hang up. And she'd call in front of us children and be like, if you don't come home, I'm going to kill the children. And my sibling and myself would be huddled together, and we didn't get along, we've never got along, but we would be huddled together in fear of our mother, and our mother would turn around and be like, and just have this like blank look on her face, no loving body language, no expression, and be like, you know, I wouldn't do that. And how did we know? She would attack our father, she would attack us, she would lose it, she would just hide in the room, and if anyone disturbed her, you know, she would lose it. And there was often times we had to run out of the house to our safe place. And I think I was like 7 years old. My sister was 9. And we'd be running out of the house into the bush or at a bus station. Because being in a time where, and in an area where children were being abducted was safer than being in our house. And this would happen until my mum would calm down and Dad would come find us. Like, there was no phones back then. There was no trackers. We couldn't even afford it if there was. So I grew up learning to comply with people that had unreasonable demands because out of fear of the explosions. I never had friends in primary school. I sat by myself the whole of primary school. And it wasn't until I got into my teenage years that I started getting friends. And I started going over to their places, and like they would say something back to their parents, or like, you know, talk to them about things that were inappropriate in our family, like our feelings and like things that are happening to our bodies and that. Like, it was just inappropriate. We didn't talk about stuff like that in our family because the realization as I got older that my parents had no connection to us is extremely real. So I thought their families were abnormal because I'd never experienced a non-dysfunctional household. All my family are dysfunctional in some sort of way. And my gran is amazing. And I can't forget, my dad has taught me everything that I know. Love my gran and love my dad very much. I love my mum too, but there is boundaries and I don't talk to her anymore. And the older that I get, the more I realise that the lack of help and support and accountability within my household was the direct reason why when my mum brought a young man into the house and he started to manipulate me, it felt like home. When he started to get me to do stuff I didn't want to do, it felt like home. Because That's what I grew up with. And us as parents have to think so carefully about the environments that we put our children in. Because I'm not perfect. I let generational trauma get to my eldest daughter, and we don't have a relationship because of that. That was my fault because compliance and abuse and compliance of abuse was normal to me. So I let everyone else tell me what to do because I didn't know what self accountability was, but in a different way. It's my fault. My eldest daughter is messed up. It is my fault. I should have got help sooner. I was 16 when I had her. But I knew something was wrong. And I didn't like the way I was being treated. But also, on the other side, too, no one would help me. No one would help me. And it goes back to what I learnt as a child, that when no one helps you, you learn helplessness and you just start to comply again. I will be sorry to my eldest daughter my whole life. I never wanted that for her. And that's why also I know that both my parents have backstories as to why they are dysfunctional and why I can reason so well with my childhood. And then I feel selfish for saying I was a young victim of extreme abuse. Because in my mind, as painful as it is, the more I got older and aware, even though I couldn't get help, I stopped trying. I didn't even try because I knew no different. And now I've given someone else generational trauma.